fuck this movie. Seriously, fuck this movie. I know I usually try to be all casual in my videos, just kind of slowly introduce what I'm talking about for the day, but I just can't this time, okay? Fuck this movie and fuck Sony for thinking this is a good idea. Just in case you couldn't tell by now, I'm pretty butthurt that this is a thing. I mean, I don't mind the idea of a Venom movie. In fact, I think it could be awesome, but why do we need a Venom movie right now? First off, he hasn't even been introduced as a new suit for Tom Holland's Spider-Man yet, let alone a full-fledged villain. And on top of that, this movie's completely unrelated to the MCU and that version of Spider-Man. Come on, man. But whatever, I'm sure you guys don't want to hear yet another person complaining about the Venom movie or calling it a bad idea or anything like that, so I thought I'd let history do that for me instead. Remember, this push to make a Venom movie isn't exactly new. Multiple studios and people have tried to push this idea for over 2 decades now, and every single one of those projects has crashed and burned. I know it sounds weird, like how could all of these fail so badly? But once you hear what all's involved in these ideas, I think you'll get it pretty fast. Anyways, let's check it out. Let's look at over 20 plus years of failed Venom projects and see how they all tanked. Alright, so believe it or not, the idea of a Venom movie actually starts all the way back in the mid-1990s, back in 1995, with New Line Cinema picking up the rights to Venom and Carnage. Out of all the projects I'm going to talk about in this video, I can at least forgive New Line for not trying to put Spidey in this one, since his rights were tied up with a few other companies in the middle of a legal battle, and the most recent Spidey script was James Cameron's, which was filled with sex scenes, tons of cursing, and a not Max Dillon Electro as the villain. It's actually a fun read, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to put it in the description if you guys want to check it out. Anyway, so New Line owns the rights to Venom, and they needed a kick-ass script that had him and Carnage duking it out in all their squishy, symbiotic glory. Who could they possibly get to script out a story that could do justice to such a dark and edgy character? David S. Goyer, of course. You guys might remember him as the writer of such films as Blade 2 or Batman Begins. You might also remember him as the guy who said only virgins would know who the Martian Manhunter is, and that She-Hulk is a porn star character. Yeah, it's that guy. Now, details on his script are pretty scarce, but from what we do know, the whole thing sounds like pig shit. The script apparently had Venom originally living on a planet full of spiders and symbiotes that bond with them or something, which was supposed to explain the spider symbol on his chest, and eventually getting exiled to Earth for some reason or another. He would have traveled in a meteor, landing in a random field somewhere, kind of like what happened in Spider-Man 3, and eventually making his way to Eddie Brock. Carnage was also involved somehow. I highly doubt he came from Venom in this version, unlike in the comics where that's a thing, and would have been the movie's villain. Dolph Lundgren was supposedly the top choice for Venom, according to one of his fan sites. I haven't been able to find anything else confirming this, and the article the site links to really doesn't work, so take all this casting information with a grain of salt. As far as I've been able to tell, the movie never got past the script stage, with Goyer confirming in 1998 that the movie was stuck in limbo, and Michael DeLuca, the former president of New Line, later revealed to NeedCoffee.com that the project was officially canceled back in 2000. Alright, so let's skip forward a few years to 2004. Spider-Man 2 just came out, and everybody's pretty pumped up to see the sequel. Oh, how naive we were.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Now, obviously, we know that Venom was in Spider-Man 3, and he was pretty terrible. The whole movie wasn't really all that great, but believe it or not, Venom wasn't even planned to be in the movie at first. When Sam Raimi and his brother Ivan started working on the treatment for Spider-Man 3, they were actually using the Vulture as the villain the Sandman was going to team up with. Yeah, the Vulture could have been in the Sam Raimi movies. It even got to the point where they made the wings for the costume and started talking with Ben Kingsley to play the part, but instead of that awesomeness, we got this. By March, the Vulture was cut out of the script completely and was replaced with Eddie Brock as Venom. We know from interviews with the producer of the movie that the original idea was to introduce Eddie Brock and then kind of dive into Venom for the sequels, but all that kind of got sped up thanks to producer Avi Arad. See, Sam Raimi revealed in 2007 that Avi pressured him into putting Venom into Spider-Man 3 and also talked him into giving Venom way more focus than Sam wanted to, since, he kind of hated the character. In an interview with Sci-Fi Wire, Sam Raimi said, "Avi Arad, my partner and the former president of Marvel at the time, said to me, Sam, you're not paying attention to the fans enough. You need to think about them. You've made 2 movies now with your favorite villains, and now you're about to make another one with your favorite villains. The fans love Venom. He is the fan favorite. All Spider-Man readers love Venom, and even though you came from 70s Spider-Man, this is what the kids are thinking about. Please incorporate Venom. Listen to the fans now." Well, thanks, Avi. Because of you, we got this.
Now take all this.
So of course fans bashed Spider-Man 3 and its version of Venom because Topher Grace as Eddie Brock was pretty lame, but even after everybody made it very well known they didn't like this version of Venom, what does class act Avi Arad do? He announces a spin-off! That's right, most of what you hated about Spider-Man 3 was supposed to get its own 2-hour movie. No problems there! Except even if you want to assume that the tiny piece of the symbiote with Dr. Connors could turn into a new Venom, there's still the little detail of, I don't know, Eddie Brock being kinda dead. But who cares? Sony just does what it wants, right? They commissioned a first draft script from Jacob Estes, that guy that later wound up writing Rings, only to later replace him in 2008 by Paul Wernick and Rhett Reese. Well, okay, now we're starting to get somewhere. I mean, these guys co-wrote Deadpool and Zombieland, so I'm sure they could put together something awesome. Of course, Sony, the genius company they are, replaced them in 2009 with Gary Ross, the guy that wrote and directed the first Hunger Games movie. Not too bad a choice, I guess, but because of the constantly changing writer pool, the movie wound up back in limbo. What was the point of all that? Sony tried making a Venom movie again in 2012, this time before the release of their upcoming Spider-Man reboot, and because it's no surprise Sony as a company isn't all that great at this making movies thing, it also shouldn't be a surprise that they were looking at Josh Trank to direct the movie. Yes, that Josh Trank, the guy who allegedly tweeted out a picture of his dog's butthole because he got pissed at the trolls on Twitter. To be fair to Josh though, everybody was still going crazy over Chronicle at the time, so he was a pretty big up-and-comer. Everybody thought he was going to be the next big thing, you know what I mean? Thankfully, or regrettably, depending on how you want to look at it, 20th Century Fox was also circling Trank for one of their upcoming projects, that being what we know today as a literal dumpster fire. Later, there was a press junket for the first Amazing Spider-Man, where producers Avi Arad and Matthew Tolmich talked about the worlds of Spider-Man and the upcoming solo Venom movie and how they would be able to mesh together, with Eddie Brock specifically mentioned as the character that the Venom symbiote was going to merge with. Avi was quoted as stating, "It's an Eddie Brock story. We want to be as close to the comics as possible, especially an Eddie Brock story." Gee, Avi, I don't think you mentioned Eddie enough. Is this an Eddie Brock story? Tolmich chimed in and said he was a journalist. He had the wrong story, he got in trouble for it, he got fired. Weirdly though, the movie didn't actually have anything to do with either Spider-Man 3 or The Amazing Spider-Man, at least at that time.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Avi even said in the same junket, "What I'm trying to say to you without giving anything away is hopefully all these worlds will live together in peace someday." Someday? Are you serious? Fucking Sony. By 2013, during the production of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Dane DeHaan, who signed on to play Harry Osborn, was the subject of massive fan rumors that claimed he was actually going to turn into Venom during the course of the movie. Which of course sounds terrible, and even back then obviously wasn't true, but it didn't help that people started getting Venom hints in the trailers for the movie. One trailer had something called Venom storage in the files Harry was looking at. It probably had something to do with the Spider-Venom he later got injected with, but who knows, maybe it really was a shout out to the symbiote. An early version of a different trailer also included a shot of the Gentleman, by the way, that's who this guy was supposed to be, very minor Spider-Man villain, don't worry about it, walking down a hallway with the Venom symbiote in a glass case. While this shot did end up in the final product, the symbiote was cut out and replaced with a shout out to Doc Ock instead. I'm guessing Sony just wanted to keep people from thinking a Venom movie was coming soon while they were still struggling with a script, but still, that's kind of messed up. That December, Sony announced their plans for what many people started referring to as the Spider-Verse, spin-off films that would focus on characters other than Spider-Man himself, since, you know, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 wasn't all that great and nobody wanted to see another one. The initial plan was for Venom and the Sinister Six to kick things off, with Alex Kurtzman, Roberto Orci, and Ed Solomon announced as the screenwriters for the Venom movie. Kurtzman was also attached to the project as the director, which would have made Venom his directorial debut, you know, if Sony actually grew a pair and actually put some work into this movie. But shockingly, Sony started to run into some trouble in 2014. You know what I mean. But before that, everything actually seemed pretty okay. I mean, we got a couple interviews about the movie, like when Avi Arad spoke to SFX and revealed that the movie would delve into some kind of moral ambiguity theme. Venom hated only one guy, Spider-Man. He wasn't innately bad, he was a shortcut guy, not really into fighting hard for achievement. That's the Venom story. Can he also be a good guy? As you know, Venom was also called Lethal Defender of the Innocent. We had a great history with him, especially caring for the homeless, which is a very sensitive issue and something that many of us are very concerned with. Our villains all represent a different side of the misunderstood, and some of them unfortunately turn to the dark side. Venom happened to be a phenomenal character. With Eddie Brock, or if you do Flash Thompson, it doesn't matter who's going to be inside the suit. What's important is that a man like him is going to realize there comes a time when you wake up in the morning and say, how did I get here? There must be a better way. In August, we started getting reports claiming that the movie was titled Venom Carnage, signaling that Cletus Cassidy and the Carnage symbiote were going to be the villains. It's actually kind of cool. Even after 20 years, Sony still wants the exact same bad guy in their Venom movie. Later reports and rumors eventually started circling, claiming that Venom was going to be canceled and that Sony was either going to expand the Spider-Verse, even giving Aunt May a spy thriller prequel, or work with Marvel to tie Spidey in with the massively popular Marvel Cinematic Universe. Alex Kurtzman later chimed in on the project in September the same year, stating, Venom is sort of the flip side. There are certain lines that Spider-Man won't cross because he's Peter Parker, and Peter Parker will only do certain things. And Venom is an entirely different character. Venom, in a weird way, is the representation of every line that will get crossed, so he's a much darker character. I wouldn't even really say more complicated, because I think they're both very complicated characters. I think the attraction for me to Venom is that you can do things that you can't can't do with Spider-Man. Then there was chaos. The infamous Sony email hack. It leaked all sorts of things out to the public, like that talks with Marvel were indeed happening, and that a number of terrible Venom-related Spider-Man pitches were being kicked around by the Sony higher-ups, including then head of Sony Amy Pascal. Apparently they all got really excited over Channing Tatum's vague Venom pitch, and when I say vague, I mean vague. But it would involve getting together with Marvel and or creator to discuss the future of Venom. I've been scouring blogs and chat rooms. I haven't seen a comic movie be the next addition in the story. I have only seen them do storylines that have been published first. I have a really sick idea, I think, but it's a mountain. That's the entire email, by the way. This email wound up getting sent to everybody, with everybody treating it like it was a done deal, and of course it wasn't. Amy also thought it would be cool to have a black-suited Spider-Man try to team up with the Sinister Six. They'd call his suit lame, Spider-Man would cry about it, and then he'd take the suit off so they'd respect him again, thus resulting in Venom. You know, that old chestnut. Let's talk. This is really similar to what Matt pitched me. This am about Venom, which he doesn't think is a movie on its own, but that Spider-Man and SS are the team in the next movie. He goes to them for help, maybe fighting Carnage, he wears the black suit, but all the SS guys think it's lame, and he takes it off, and it falls into the wrong hands. I don't know what we're yelling about! There was also an Agent Venom movie being thought up too, with one of the ideas being Agent Venom goes off to fight Kraven in the Savage Land. Seeing as Flash Thompson, who becomes Agent Venom in the comics, was pretty much cut out of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and none of those elements were ever set up in either of those movies, I'm pretty sure this wouldn't have gone through, even if Sony was confident that they owned every aspect of that idea. Thankfully, Sony gave up on all of this in 2015 when they finally inked a deal with Marvel and started sharing the Spider-Man character with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You'd think that would be it, like Sony would just sit back, start collecting some checks, and just let Marvel do all the work, but no. They tried bringing the movie back again in 2016, but that didn't work. It just sort of fizzled out. Nobody cared about it. Now, all of a sudden, this thing randomly pops back up with a release date of October 5th, 2018. It's probably just trying to copy big successes like Logan and Deadpool, which is why it has an R rating. There's no Spider-Man involved, even though Tom Holland said he'd do it if he got to see a script or something first. I mean, Sony, you don't need to do this on your own. I know you guys want to seem like the big man on campus, you know, with your own cinematic universe and all, but all you're going to end up doing is confusing people and ruin a few good characters. Just let Marvel do it. Focus on trying not to make stuff like the Emoji Movie in the future and leave the superhero movies to the people who actually know what they're doing, okay? Alright, so that's the history of Venom trying to make it to the big screen. Hopefully you guys get why I'm just sick and tired of hearing about this stupid movie by this point if Sony keeps insisting on doing it by themselves. But if you disagree with me and you want to tell me off or something, or maybe if you agree with me and you want to tell me why, either way, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to click that like button, maybe leave me a comment while you're at it, and go ahead and click that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to check out any of my social media pages. I've got a Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. All those links are going to be in the description below. And I've also got my last video right there in the middle of your screen. So if you want to check that out, go ahead and click it, check it out. Alright, and I will see you all next time.